Hey, son.
Hey, Moon.
Welcome, y'all, to the Sun and the Moon Talks. My name is Alex.
I'm Sarah, and welcome to this episode.
We are so excited to have y'all back. If you have been seeing our other videos or not, welcome to this space. This is a space of exploring esoteric, metaphysical, blackness, weirdness, coolness, all together, in which we share what we like to talk about, to learn from each other, but also to build community for folks that just want to dig a little bit deeper into life and tap into joy and excitement and pour that into creating a life that is what you want. So we're all really excited to be here, and Sarah is great at giving also like a run through of what you can expect for our episodes.
Yes, so we have a lot in store for you, just like every episode. We will be talking deep dives into topics, personal takes, tips and tricks, and also invitations to you. And then we do riddles at the end to give you a clue to the next episode. And speaking of riddles, I think it's time for us to reveal the answer to the last riddle and what today's topic is. So the answer to last episode's riddle is, drumroll please, holistic living. Yes, I know it's kind of out there, but hey, if you got it or you were close to it, kudos to you. Kudos to freaking you. Okay, awesome. So let's like dive into and give like some basic factoids about what holistic means.
Holistic is such a buzzword lately, I feel, especially in the last maybe like 5 years. So what is a holistic living, a holistic mindset?
Yeah, so when we think of holistic, it really is looking at our lives in a wholesome way, looking at not just each separate section, finances, family, friends, health, instead of looking at these aspects in their own different and separate ways, you look at it as a whole in your entirety. So how do all of these different things actually affect you, and how do you play a role in all these different things? Because if one, if maybe your family life is stressing you out, which now is making you stressed out at your job, which is now affecting your finances, which means that you can't do, maybe you can't do something for your health now, right? And so really looking at how all of the choices and the ways that we show up in life are interconnected, and how to approach life in a way that can really raise up and increase our wellness in all of these sections. So,
yes, to all that.
Yes, interconnectedness. So yeah, that is what holistic means, and to live wholesome means to honor and nourish all aspects of our lives.
Yes, and what I love, the analogies I love to give for people that are still like, okay, what is like a holisticness, even if I'm considering the different components of my life, as you were sharing. And I love the scene of Shrek, the first movie, when Shrek is trying to describe to Donkey what ogres are like, and he's like, ogres have onions, and he's like, they stink? No, they, like the donkey's like, I'm trying to guess, and he's like, they have layers. For my SpongeBob fans out there, there's this episode where SpongeBob, obviously he's square, ends up rounding up because he's trying to like appease Squidward and completely loses his personality, right? So I like to use those analogies, which means like there's different components to who we are. Like human beings are very multi-dimensional, multi-layered beings, like we just are. And just like an onion has layers, that nature has like different aspects of themselves, so do we. So I love to talk about holistic lifestyle as you don't just have to pick and be this one person in your life. And, we live in an education system that tells us that. It's like, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? And they're being asked that since they're like middle school. And then you choose one track and that's all you are for the rest of your life. And that's just such an interesting take, because this is a new way to do that. Yeah. Just a few centuries ago, people were every different type of career and different types of lifestyles while they were still one person. And the example that I love to bring up is Leonardo da Vinci. If anyone is unfamiliar with him, he's mostly known as being a famous painter, but he was also an engineer. He was an architect. He was a mathematician, and yes, he was a very famous painter. And Leonardo and people from his time are really symbolic of someone that has so many layers, like has so many dimensions to who they are, that it can then apply to every other aspect of their life. And when you get to know one aspect of yourself so thoroughly, it can then be applied to anything else. Leonardo da Vinci is the perfect example of that, where he understood a skill so deeply that it then translated into all the arts and all the sciences.
Yes. And it's really like, I love that, because when we think of like a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman, it comes from like that idea of being so many different things. Whereas, like, I feel like we've almost lost that in a way, especially as
modern times,
especially in entrepreneurial places where you try and like niche down, find a market audience, find a and it's like, but where like there's not like we have to acknowledge that there are some people who are multifaceted and multi-passionate, and you can't just niche down.
Yes,
you have to be able to honor yourself in a wholesome way.
Yes,
so you can show up in these different spaces still in an authentic way.
Yes.
So I love that. And I think coming from two Renaissance women, it's even more important to like honor the multi-dimensionality. Because it always makes me so sad when you meet someone and they're like, oh, I'm just a this.
Oh yeah.
And it's
they
like
should hold themselves.
Yeah, and it's like you're more than that. Like you're more than just a parent. You're more than just, a teacher. You're more than just, a store clerk.
Yeah.
Like you have all these different aspects of you. What would happen if you poured love into all these different aspects of you? So it's like, yeah.
And can you share more, like in the work that you do? Like, how does your multi-dimensionality come out?
I think I've successfully created a container for all the wackiness, because it was I had an identity crisis for a while of just trying to figure out like, okay, I'm being told to niche down, but like as a graphic designer / like wellness enthusiast / play expert / like storyteller / dancer / this / that, it's like it almost felt like a disservice to niche down, because it's like almost negating all of the other skills and passions that I have. And so what I ended up doing was creating a container. So it's like, okay, if I'm a house, then all these houses have different rooms. And so that's why I have Sarah's Kaleidoscope Playhouse.
That's right.
Because I feel like if I was a house, it'd be like one of those fun houses that you see at the carnival, where you walk in and then the walls, the floor is doing that, and then the mirrors are all doing this. And so it's creating a safe space to explore how yourself shows up in a wholesome way. And, it's not easy. Beautiful. It takes a lot of work. I had to really look at these parts of myself that I was told I can't fit anywhere.
Yeah.
And really accepting that, saying, you know what? Well, in, the 30 plus years I've been here, this is still very much prevalent. I'm still very passionate about it. So we're going to create a room for you in this house. Right?
That's beautiful.
And so really slowing down also to reflect on, these parts of myself that I didn't accept, and really saying, okay, well, where's the superpower in this? Or where is there parts for me to grow and learn? Or even like say thank you for this piece of me, but it's no longer serving my highest good and my purpose and where I'm at in this life now. And so really learning to kind of like work on these darker parts, which also is called shadow work, which is, I think, a perfect, like, Alex, you know a lot about, shadow work and all that stuff as well. So I'm really curious to see, like, how, like, if that has played a role in your holistic journey.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, before I want to get into it, I also really want to share that I had that very same experience where like that identity crisis, because you had to fit so much of who you are into like this small little grain that they told you that you have, and it really took away from me. Like it really dimmed my light. It really made me small, and it made me like not me. So I was at one point like this really bitter person who was just just always aggravated or like always felt like life had something out too personal to get me. Like it just felt like everything was personal. Like that's the other end that I took. And that is where shadow work really was helpful, because when you are constantly triggered by seemingly every environment and every person, that I'm sorry to say this, it's you. Like, not to say that people could be on one, but
no.
If you're always
the common denominator,
it means everything in your environment is telling you that you need to dig deeper, because there's a hidden message. And that hidden message usually is like a component of yourself that you left scattered or repressed due to real experiences. I do not want to deny that, and I want to highlight that childhood trauma and repeated traumatic lives throughout your life is a very valid reason why you may have left parts of yourself behind. And also, until you come together and become whole, everything around you will just be triggering to remind you that those parts are still hidden and haven't been integrated. So shadow work is the process of going into those realms of being nervous or afraid to discover who you are, and then retrieving that, because you deserve it and you're worth it.
Absolutely. And I think I like that you said that, because I think it's something I've observed. I've observed, because, walking this path of play and whimsy and all that, you're always being yourself and being authentic. And it's almost like you can tell when people have shadow work to do, because when you show up, and this is for those of you who do walk the path of unconventionality, unconventionalness, of like when you're in those spaces and you're your full self, and then you get those haters, right? Or maybe someone watching this is a hater. Check yourself, like, are you hating because you do not have the bravery within yourself to make those authentic choices? Because a lot of that wholesomeness comes from being okay with maybe not being understood, with maybe being okay with being made fun of, because we're in a world that is very much box thinking, very much here's the normalcy and this is where you're supposed to fit. Mm-hmm. And so if I do show up with an eccentric outfit, people are like, wow, really colorful. Then in my head, I'm like, okay, so maybe you need to look at how you express yourself. Are you expressing yourself in the true way? Because why are you paying attention?
Why is it bugging you so much?
Why is it bothering you so much?
Yeah.
And so when you naturally walk into this life of holistic joy, you are going to trigger people, because we live in a world that denounces us of the ability and the freedom to do that by saying, we're going to make fun of you. That is not, that's not how one person's that's not how you're supposed to show up. That's not how it's like the way you express yourself is not synonymous with your capabilities. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so really pushing the envelope. Mm-hmm. So I love that, but it's all shadow work.
It is. So. And I love that you even brought in play with shadow work, because shadow work can be, a hard process, but also it could be a play process.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to choose your hard.
So are we moving into the Enchant Your Life portion?
Yes, let's move to Enchant Your Life.
Ding!
Where we've offered you tricks and resources to dive deeper into the topic that we're talking about. So,
we touched on this lightly, but I really want to emphasize for this, when people say, like, as we were just talking about shadow work, and you're wondering, like, okay, but how the heck do I even begin? I would say, think about the last experience you had where something just pissed you off, like something someone did or said or you saw on social media, and I mean not like a pet peeve piss you off, like
or something blatant, like where someone like looked at you in the face and called you a punk. That's like
you know what I mean something like someone wasn't doing to you intentionally, you saw their behavior, or just something about what they did just kind of like, it's like a feeling, like it kind of hit and it made you kind of be like, like I don't like that they did that, or I don't like that they're expressing that. And I would have you go and think about that experience and that feeling, and think about anything about like, why have you ever been in those shoes where you were that person that did that behavior or wanted that thing? I would just go in and sit with what exactly was that moment that you didn't dislike, and when have you maybe wanted to act like that yourself, or you've done it in the past but were told you weren't allowed to express that.
I like that.
How about for you?
I think to piggyback off of that is to become familiar with triggers, but also like the things that make you cringe, and embrace it. Like, embrace the cringe, because like that's how you're gonna get to understanding yourself better, is knowing, okay, what things make you cringe, and then asking yourself why, and then to like maybe do the cringy thing. Try and do the cringy thing, you know, especially if it's like something super harmless, right?
Yes.
Just being goofy and just like, woo. And
In
some
front of
people
people
will be like, oh, that's cringe. For example, I'll put myself out there, right? I don't know. Have you seen those like pop the balloon? Okay, we're going to dive into this.
I'm like, no, I don't think so.
So Pop the Balloon is like a dating show.
Oh.
And it's like, it's all these people lined up, and it's like the bachelors or the bachelorettes, and they have the balloons, and then you have a single walk-in, one person, and then you pop the balloon when you're not interested. So some people, as soon as they walk out, balloons get popped, because it's like physically not attractive.
Not into it.
But then as you start asking more questions, then it's like, if someone's like, oh, do you have kids? And you're like, yeah, I have two. Pop the balloon. Or if it's like, oh, what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. Nope, pop the balloon. We can't deal with all that, you know.
Yeah, unnecessary
instability. And so when I first started watching the show, but at the end, you know, if like there's one person, then you have a date. And stuff, so you can walk away with a partner. But when I first watched the show, I was like, this is so cringe. And I couldn't, as soon as one person popped the balloon, I had to turn the video off. I was like, I can't do that.
Why were you cringing, Sarah?
I was cringing because of the idea of putting yourself out there.
Interesting.
Makes me cringe. And I said, if I go up there and someone pops their balloon, I'm crying and walking back out. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so, but it helped me look deeper, because the idea of putting myself out there is very, like, it's shadow work that I have to work on. And so that's why it makes me cringe, because these people are very confident and they're like, hey, and then someone's like, no, pop that balloon, and then you're just like, so.
You know, as you were saying describing that game show, you know what the cringe was for me as you were describing the process, was that someone automatically knew that was a deal breaker.
Yeah.
To me, that's cringe, because I have put up with dating people because I'm like, right away, I want to pop the balloon in my head, but I'm like, that's bad. Let me stick around. And what has life taught me? I know right away. But my cringe is to stand on business right away. And that to me would have been my cringe from that.
Yeah, see, and mine's like getting rejected. So it's like my shadow work is getting rejected by putting myself out there. So that idea. Interesting.
Yeah, and mine is owning up like, your gut knows, girl.
Yeah, and then popping it right then
right
and
away.
There. Yeah, so it's like embracing that cringe.
Yes.
It's like, how do we lean into that some more? So,
Absolutely.
Not to say that either of us, you will not be seeing us on that show. Oh, not me. Maybe. But look, I'd be like, the first crier.
Oh.
Like, you popped a balloon.
So what is your invitation of listeners after hearing us talk about holistic and to be more like themselves? Not even like, try to be like multi-dimensionality. Try to be you, because you is that. Mm-hmm. I would say that as like a tip. But other than that, like, what would you invite listeners to?
I think, because we did cover a lot of ground. We talked about holistic living in a way of also looking at this accepting of the parts of ourselves. Because we could talk about, all this other stuff, right? But I think you can't show up fully until you accept yourself fully, no matter how much work you've done.
Yep.
And so my invitation to listeners is to do an inventory of your overall health and satisfaction through a holistic wheel. Some of you may be familiar with this. If not, I put a link in the show notes of just a brief article and a graph of what the holistic wheel looks like. It's about 6 to 8 pieces, and it goes over each sector of our lives: social, family, health, recreation, whatever. There's a bunch. Yeah, I was like, all of them, yes.
Yep.
So I want you to look at those and really just sit with it and say, am I living in this part of my life as optimally as I can, and how is this possibly affecting these other pieces of the pie? So that is my invitation. Please feel free to check out the link, create your own holistic wheel, and really do an assessment, do an inventory of your holistic life.
That's lovely.
Yeah. What about you? What is your action and invitation for listeners?
My invitation is for y'all to set aside a designated time to explore a part of you that you haven't for a while. And I would be so specific as to say, dedicate 3 hours for a week, like every week, 3 hours for about a month. And maybe this is a hobby that you left back when you were a preteen or a high schooler, or it was something that you really liked at some point, and then you were taught, well, you can't make money off of that anyway, so don't put your energy into it. Mm-hmm. And I would invite you to just go back and explore that, because you were into that talent or that hobby or that skill for a reason, because it's an extension of you and it deserves to be expressed. And just by starting that way, you can begin to like unravel the process of all the many things that you are and that you can do.
I love that. And it just really starts building this habit, which we like. We like good habits. Habits are good.
Absolutely. So this wraps up our episode today. But we first, of course, are going to give you the riddle to guess what our next topic is going to be.
Alrighty. So the riddle for the next episode is: I am here once, and I will come around once more. I am used to connect, celebrate, or reassure what's been done before. A ceremonial series of actions. I may look different depending on the faction.
Her riddles are so good, right? I'm not a riddle person, but I'm always like, damn, like, I would suck at guessing this, not gonna lie, but it's just so well done.
Put your guesses in the comments.
Please
Very
do.
excited to hear that, because these are pretty out there. So thank you for that. It's a weird little part of myself that I had to integrate.
Holisticness.
Yeah, holistic acceptance on even the weird parts that maybe don't have a name. So
thank y'all so much for joining the Sun and the Moon Talks, and we will see y'all next time.
bye.